Welcome back. We'll be continuing with theme 1, which is the media's functions of society, going into theme of the entertainment function. But before we get to that, here's some revision questions that might jog your memory about what you've just covered in Linear 3. Can you define functionalism and label maybe parts of society? Could you explain Wright's model of functions? Could you explain McQuail's typology of functions and provide examples? And what are the 3 levels of polarity? Complete the next slide, which is matching the Mickey table, and match the relevant blocks. So which one would go where? In the Mickey table. This is a nice activity to do as well in your class. So maybe you can ask your lecturer if you guys can attempt it during your sessions. Section 2 looks at the entertainment function. We're on page 216. And this looks at how entertainment genre has grown over time. It has incorporated so many different kinds of what is considered to be entertaining for the audience. It could be sports, it could be quiz programs, it can be celebrities, it could even be ads or documentaries. And even though it's supposed to be to entertain us, it can also perform an informative and educational function. When it comes to entertainment, we can break it down to different perspectives. And the first perspective is the rhetorical perspective, which is going to look at whether the actual audience or viewer or media user would consider this to be experienced as entertainment. So the rhetorical motifs are, firstly, identity. So when looking at a television show, you need to apply one of these perspectives. And you could start off with identity, which is that who am I? Who is the character? And usually we understand who the character is when we measure them with other characters that they surround themselves with. We only know that the character is very stubborn or, is bad at math or doesn't know how to do certain tasks when someone tells them that in terms of their friend or their family member or another character in the show. Secondly is ability. Usually within an episode or a specific part of the episode, there would be a challenge to overcome. So they usually need to achieve something. Next is survival, in which case it does allow the media user to become aware of the character's values and what they really do vary, such as family or friends or love or trust. Next is reality. Usually TV shows, or entertainment products, media content, which shed light on reality and would question the media's user of understanding that reality, such as shedding light on the divorce of, a divorce of a marriage couple. And this would question us as media users, how do I feel about divorce? Lastly, the tie up that the knowledge gleaned from all the responses to these questions about identity, ability, survival, and reality is in itself liberating, pleasurable, and gratifying. Please read the case study from pages 217 to 218 and write down any notes that you do understand about this perspective so far. Unlike the rhetorical perspective that questions more of the technicalities of each sort of character in terms of who they are, their journey, the reality of the show, as well as the values of the character, this is now going to look at the behavioral perspective that we could look at when it comes to entertainment, which is identification, projection, and interjection. This is when we can identify with something in terms of identifying with the character, or we can project our own feelings onto the character. Entertainment content can go into different forms and satisfy these 3 requirements, which is nature of theme, content, and action. What action is being portrayed there? And then we do have a quote that you can read through. Next is the identifiability of characters to identify with them, such as the James Bond character. And then we could identify with the character of a British Secret Service agent, James Bond, and the actor who portrays James Bond, as well as what James Bond stands for as that heroic figure. And then we have visual impact of the visual presentation that the entertainment product is showing us, which is the cinematography, the acting, the mood, the lighting, and so on. With the behavioral perspective, we look at the identification that we can empathize with the character based on the values being portrayed. We could also assume the feelings of the character and project our own feelings onto this character. We also have a term here called Kusha Kunstate, which is the pre-existing emotions that simulates the user's imagination, where we can have certain expectations based off the media content, such as to know to laugh at a comedy or be scared in a thriller or horror. I gave an example here that most of the time we have certain expectations when we watch a Tom Hanks movie in the terms that we know to either be, it's going to be an emotional movie or it's going to be a comedy. Next is distance and play. And we look at because it is a entertainment piece, we have the comfortability of personal distance, which is sort of like a barrier to the entertainment portrayal in that film or TV show. We know that the tragedy and the horror and the violence, it can be entertaining, and that we are almost like peeping toms, where we can view it from the outside and not be part of the danger and the horror. And this also can apply to the actors and the producers and the editors and so on. We have this uninvolved involvement where we can afford to view the reality from afar, afforded by the camera lens. We also have manipulated reality where we know what we're watching is not real, such as watching a surgery on Grey's Anatomy. We know that all those, that whole thing being portrayed is not real. It's just been put there by visual codes and lighting and the camera work. The last part of the behavioral perspective is just, they say here, it breaks down to these following terms: voluntary, imaginary, rules, specific duration, and social nature. Viewing is through a voluntary process where you choose to watch it through what is an imaginary reality. You understand certain rules, like when the show sort of does that little wobbly thing, you know that could be a flashback. You know what to expect as well from horrors. You know there will be a length of time for a duration. And you also know that this is going to have a social nature where you could invite friends and family, and it can also reflect social values, norms, behavior, the media content. Lastly is the sociological perspective. The media's ability to orientate and integrate people into societies and also to educate them to adopt certain attitudes, values, and beliefs. In this case, the entertainment content can visualize for viewers how to conduct themselves with the behavior, the social, and the norms, which presents these following arguments. Firstly, frame of reference. The media entertainment it provides a frame of reference to view and understand other people's life and their lifestyle. The media also allows us to have a degree of status aspiration to aspire to that sort of celebrity or that character in that show and adopt their sort of status symbols. The next one is celeb stars and characters, that we can sometimes have this parasociological friendship with them where we feel like they are our friends, and it elevates feelings of loneliness. We can also have an erosion adoption of new moral and social values, such as that watching this could mean that we could start to accept certain values, we could start to gain certain values within ourselves, such as that we might have, new morals suddenly adopted from the show that we didn't have before, that we value family all of a sudden, for example, and also the adoption of better lifestyles and technologies. Therefore, the media can help us maintain social order and also help us with behavioral components. And they gave an example here, I just put in the slide, such as Blackish, dedicates an episode to raising spoiled children. And that you might feel like this, is an example or a situation that you felt before and you identify with it, but that it's also educating you in a different sense how to maybe handle spoiled children. We end off this part with the entertainment as a value judgment. To remember that entertainment is a subjective experience, that it's not the same for everybody. It's a very sort of depends on the content and how the person views it for themselves. It also depends on their personal knowledge, their education, their culture, their experience, and their taste of how they personally do experience it. And it holds different values for everyone of how they do experience the media content. Here we have a bit of a question thing that's going on here that you might be able to name. What are the three perspectives of the entertainment function that we just went through? What are the motives for the Rosenfeld and Maida, which is the rhetorical perspective? The entertainment content must satisfy which three requirements? What does interjection mean? What are the arguments for orientation and function? And use your own television example to explain identification, projection, and interjection. We've covered theme 1 of our Learning Unit 3 work. Please make sure that you look through your lesson plan and point out anything you don't understand, and make sure you're taking notes to discuss for your lecture at a future date. Thank you so much.